guys, and welcome to the Ascension Parish Library Crafting Corner. I'm your host, Ashley Lee from the Dutchtown branch, and today I'll be showing you how to make a Baby Yoda. Okay, so here's everything that should be in your packet. The Baby Yoda instructions. This is just going to be the written version of what I'll be going over in the video. Your template. This has got the body and the inner ear. Your felt. So you have your green for the body, your cream colored for the inner ear, your black for the eye, and your brown for the coat. Then you're going to have your needle and thread, keychain and ribbon, and your stuffing. You'll need a couple of additional items from your house. You'll need either a marker or a pen or a pencil. That's going to be used for the tracing, so whatever works best on your felt. And you'll also need a pair of scissors. So first you want to start by cutting out your template. That's going to be the body and the inner ear. So I already have it cut out. For the body, you're going to need two of them. So you're going to do one on each of your green squares. Just take your marker or pencil or pen and trace around the body onto the square. Next, you're going to cut the two bodies out. You're going to do the same thing with the piece of cream colored felt and the inner ear pieces. Just trace it twice and cut both pieces out. Next, you're going to cut out two eyes from the black piece of felt. There's not a template for these, so just kind of cut a circle, then compare it to your template to see how it, like the sizing looks, and then you can adjust it from there. Now we're going to get ready to do the sewing part. Your packet came with a little square that had your needle and thread on it. Just go ahead and pull off a good amount of the green thread and put it on your needle. Go ahead and thread your needle. And then at the bottom of your thread, you're going to want to loop it and make a knot. Anytime you re-thread your needle, you have to get more thread. You're going to want to make sure you do this knot. This knot's going to keep it from going all the way through when you're sewing. Doesn't have to be exactly at the bottom, just as long as it's close. At this time, it would also be a good idea if you want to add a white dot to your eyes with paint. This would be the perfect time to do it so it has time to dry. If you don't have paint, don't worry. I'm going to show you a hack that you can use the thread to do instead of the paint. We are going to be using what's called a whip stitch to sew this Yoda. Now it sounds scary, but I promise it's very easy. I'm going to show you on this fabric to make it a little easier for you to see, and then I'll kind of remind you of the steps when we go to sew the Yoda. First, you're going to start by taking your needle through the back side, just like you would any kind of hand sewing. Pull it all the way through until you feel that knot catch. Now, this is where it's a little bit different. Instead of going back through the cream color, you're gonna come up here to the black, go in there, and then come back up through the cream color. And this is gonna allow it, when you get the stitch pulled all the way through, you're gonna actually see the stitch on top of the fabric. And this is what you want. This is gonna give it that really cute stuffed animal or keychain look, a little bit more interesting than just your standard hand sewing. So once again, you're gonna go through the black, then push it up through the cream. If your thread gets tangled, just go slow, move it out of the way, no big deal. See, everybody's gets tangled at some point. It's getting caught. And then just pull it all the way through. The farther apart you go when you're in the black area, that's gonna give you your depth of how far apart your stitches are. If you want it closer, don't go over too far. Keep it close to your other stitch. And through. And you are now a master at the whip stitch. So you can take this skill and start sewing your Yoda with it. Decide where you want your ears. Once again, start in the back. Pull it through until that knot catches. Then you're going to go into the green, then back up through the cream color. Into the green, back up through the cream color. Do that all the way around this ear, and then place your other ear and do it all the way around that ear as well. When you get all the way back around, simply push your needle through the cream, pull it all the way back, then on the back side, flip it around to simply knot it. You can also, if you want to doubly secure it, kind of go under one of your stitches, just on the back side. Flip it around on me. And knot it that way as well. That's just going to really secure it so that the ear won't wiggle. Cut your thread. And don't forget to re-knot the end. Then just simply sew the other ear on. So next we're going to do the eyes. If you did your white dot, you can just glue them onto the front of your Yoda if you would like, so that the yarn, the string does not cover it up. However, if you didn't and you would prefer to sew it, that way you can actually get a little pupil. I'll be showing you how to do that. First, just line up the eye where you want it. Then we're going to be going in with our needle and thread from the back. Pull it all the way through, and you should have the knot at the end of your string so that it catches. Then go back in. And what you're going to do is you're just going to go over the same spot several times so that the thread shows up really well. So you can just kind of pull it all the way through and then just try to get close to the same spot again. It doesn't have to be 100% exact, but just get close to the same spot. May take a couple tries to get exactly where you want your needle. You can also make like a little X if you wanted it to have a little bit different of a pupil. You could do it as many times as you want until it shows up the way that you want it to show up. And we're just going to do the same thing for both eyes. Once your eyes are done, you can go ahead and set this part of your Yoda aside and pick up the other piece that you cut. This is going to be the back body of your Yoda. So eventually we will sew them together to make a completed Yoda. But for now, just use the back part and we're going to add our ribbon. Now, your ribbon's going to go on the side that's going to go inside of your Yoda. So whichever side, so like the one with the marks, is going to be on the inside so that the plain side is on the outside. So your ribbon's going to go on the inside of that. You're going to do both ends. You can either glue it or you can sew it. I'm going to sew mine, so I'll show you how to do that. But if you wanted to glue it, it'd be the same idea of folding it over, putting it a little ways inside, and then gluing it and letting it sit till the glue dry. But I'm going to go ahead and sew mine, so I'm just going to do the same. It's just going to be basic. Just go from behind, make sure there's a knot in your thread again, pull it, then just go back in. And nobody's really gonna see this, so you don't have to be very exact with it. Just make sure that you go through a couple of times so that your ribbon is secure. You could do an X, you could do a line, you could just go over the same spot like I'm doing, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Just make sure that at the end of it, you feel like your ribbon is secure on there. One more time. And then you can either just knot it or pull it through one of the stitches, then knot it. That's up to you. Pulling it through the stitch does make it a little bit more secure, but if it's something that you don't feel comfortable doing, just doing a knot is just as easy. If there's any loose threads that you feel like you don't want showing, this would be the time to do it. And so you can see, like on the back, it's you can't barely tell that there's a spot, and we're gonna be sewing more, so you really won't see that. And this is gonna be on the inside, so it's okay if it doesn't look the prettiest. Once you have your eyes, the inner part of your ear, and your ribbon on, you're ready to sew the two sides of your Yoda together. Now, the important thing to remember when you're sewing your Yoda together is that you want to leave some space to be able to stuff him. So you don't want to go all the way around in the beginning. You want to leave a good amount of space open to put the stuffing in. I'm going to leave open his top part of his ear and the top part of his head. So because I'm leaving that open, I'm going to start right on the other side of this ribbon. You can do it anywhere, but to me that's just a good place to be able to fit the stuffing in to go to all the different places that you need. So you'll just line your two pieces up and then get your needle and thread. Make sure you have a good amount of thread on there because you will be going around a lot of the body. And you're going to start from behind. Pull it all the way through like you've been doing. Then you're going to loop it back around and come in from behind again. So that's going to make that whip stitch where you'll be able to see the stitch on the outside of Yoda's body. It gives it that really cute kind of stuffed animal look to it. Now, you don't have to make the stitches super close together, but you want to be careful not to make a huge gap because you are going to have stuffing, and so you don't want the stuffing to come out. So just move over a little, take it behind again, and pull it on through. And then you're going to do that all the way around until you get to your spot that we're going to leave open to do the stuffing. Okay, so now I've gone around most of my Baby Yoda, but I've left a little portion open. We're gonna go ahead and stuff him. For the stuffing, we've provided stuffing for you, but I would suggest that you also get something to help you kind of get down here into the feet. The best thing I found is a pencil, because you can use either the eraser end or the smaller lead end to kind of get into some of the places. But if you don't have a pencil, try a pen, a marker, a small stick, any kind of thing that can just help you maneuver the stuffing into it. So just break your stuffing down into smaller pieces. And you're just gonna wanna make sure that you get stuffing all the way down into his feet. And like I said, this is where some of these tools may come in handy to kind of work the stuffing down into his feet. And the more stuffing you put in there, the harder of a stuffed animal he's gonna be. So if you want something that's a little bit softer, don't overstuff. If you want something that's a little bit more firm, then definitely go ahead and kind of pack him. Work it into his arms as well. And most importantly, his ears. Because I mean, what's Baby Yoda without Yoda ears? And see, you just kind of want to use something. You want to get all the way down to that very end part. And once you get it in there, you may have to kind of squish it around a little bit, just so, because it kind of gets packed in there a little solid. So feel free to stop, adjust, decide if you want more. You should have plenty to go in there. So it should not be a problem getting him as stuffed as you want. Now for his head. Poor Baby Yoda, putting you through so much. Now his other ear. And here you'll just kind of have to hold it in a little bit because it is going to be hard to do it right there until you close it up. But just kind of pretend like if you were closed, is that the amount you would want. Squish him around a little bit. This is going to be the time if you want to add any to the ear. I think the tip of his ear needs a little bit of stuffing. If you think his feet needs any more, his arms, this will be the time to adjust it. Once you've got it packed in there the way you like it, you're going to use your needle and thread to stitch him the rest of the way. So you should have made a knot where you ended off. I would just go back like one stitch just to reinforce that last stitch that you did. Make sure again that there's a knot in your thread. And just do that same whip stitch going from behind to in front and then looping it back behind. Pulling it back forward. And you're going to want to do that all the way to finish him up, to close him off. And if you don't feel like that stitch is secure enough, you can always go back over it a second time. So once you've closed up his opening, you should be able to go around, kind of squish his stuffing out, flatten him out, plump him up, do whatever you want to do to make him yours. And then we'll be moving on to the very last steps, which is gonna be his robe. Now you have two options with his robe. There is a template on the back of your instructions that's about the same size as your felt. You can hold it up to it and kind of use that as your guide to where you should fold it and where you should cut it. Now, that's going to be a little bit, it may not be exactly the right size for your Yoda though if you do it this way. Just because based off of how much stuffing you put in and how exactly you cut him out, he may vary a little bit. So the better option in my opinion would be to actually hold it up against your Baby Yoda to decide where the armhole should be. So you're going to fold over the top little bit, roughly about the top third of your piece of felt. Doesn't have to be exact. You can choose which way you like it the best. And then you're going to kind of place it where you can see where his armhole is. And you can either mark it with a marker or a pencil, or you can just kind of pinch it where it's at. And then use your scissors to make a small little slit where his arm is going to be. And you can kind of start off small and then decide where, if you need to make it a little bit bigger. And I think mine's going to need to be a little bit bigger. I think his arm is a tiny bit bigger than that. But I would definitely start small with it. That way you can always adjust as needed. So once you get the first armhole kind of fitted on there, and then you can wrap it around to decide where you want his second one to be. And same thing, you can either mark it with a marker or you can just kind of pinch it and cut it like that. Once you've gotten his armholes and you've got it on him, you'll get to decide if you want it to be a permanent robe or if you want it to be able to come on and off. If you want it to be able to come on and off, then you'll just simply put it on him and that's it. You're done with the robe. Now, because it's not a real jacket, it's probably not going to stay very well. So if this is something that you're intending to actually put on your keychain, I do highly suggest that you actually make it a permanent robe, just because it'll look a little better if it's staying on him properly. Once again, just kind of fit his arms through. If it's not big enough, go back and cut again. That's up to you, how you want it to look on him exactly. So once you've got it fitted the way you like, if you want it to be permanent, the best suggestion would be to actually either glue it or sew it onto him. I'm gonna sew. If you glued it, you would just put a little drop on here, a little drop on the robe, hold it, maybe pin it down, hold it onto him for a little while, let it set. I am gonna sew mine onto him. And you can just use the same needle and thread that you had, and just right underneath his collar, just kind of go underneath and back up and pull it through. Make sure, again, you have the knot in your thread like always, because we want it to catch. And you can either go back through the same way, or I'm gonna loop mine around, kind of like we've been doing with the whip stitch. That's up to you. And it depends on how securely you want it on there. I would just do 2 or 3 passes just to make it where it's snug. You could always later, if you want to adjust it, clip these stitches with some scissors and adjust it. Once you've done that, just go through your stitch. Pull it through. And knot it like we've knotted everything else. His robe is probably the easiest part. And you can always, if you don't like the robe on him, feel free to leave it off. He is your Baby Yoda. Make sure you cut threads off, and if you have any spare pieces of threads anywhere on your Yoda, you can always clip them off. Just be careful not to cut any of these stitches that actually hold him together. You don't want Baby Yoda falling apart. And the very last step is to make him into a keychain. If you'd like, you can just simply use the clasp to turn him into a keychain. Just like that. And there you go, that is your Baby Yoda. Don't worry if his eyes are a little crooked or if his robe isn't 100%, because he is your Baby Yoda. And so nobody knows your Baby Yoda like you know your Baby Yoda. The fun doesn't have to stop with these stuffed Baby Yodas. You can use the same template to make a paper version to share with all your friends. We would love to see your creations, so please share on our social media sites and don't forget to tag us. Hope you've enjoyed crafting with Ascension Parish Library, and have a great day.